Dear God, nay God, this is my last willy and testicle before I depart. My vision of trifle that bears insufficient witness. There's a delicacy in the world that will not listen to fact I can't find to put forward as evidence. People take things too seriously. People will never take me seriously enough. I can't prove that's a bad thing in any way. The effort would be without meaning. Now life is no more my business. My business has been frying to death, as if it was anybody's business what I feel or do not feel if it harms no one. Sig dog, ne Sodom Yordis. Irgade am Rimsinyon. The effort of trying to be relevant has become too much for me. The certainty of sudden dispatch haunts me. The time has come for people who can smile to smile and know it may not be enough. Only the end will see us through. And if we don't succeed, it's as good as no thing. Dear goddamn that, sir. This is my last nay good. Is there anybody here who thinks they're here for the first time? Is there anybody here who thinks they've been here before? Is there anybody here who thinks they should be somewhere else? Is there anybody here who thinks they're already somewhere else? Anybody here wish there was somebody else? Anybody here who really is somebody else? Anybody here working undercover, MI5, CIA, Homeland Security? Any creeps in the audience? Hands up, anybody who's a creep. Hands up, anybody who's a creep and just doesn't want to admit it. Hands up, anybody who's ever behaved like a creep and felt bad about it later. Hands up, anybody who's ever behaved like a creep and didn't feel bad about it later. I'm just doing my job, eh? If it wasn't for creeps like me, this world would be run by bullies. Hands up, any bullies? At least you're not a creep. No point creeping around if you want to be a bully. It's a bit like trying to sell somebody a vacuum cleaner when all you got is a suitcase full of shoes. How about wimps? Any wimps? Hands up, anybody who thinks this world is being run by creeps and bullies. And you're too much of a wimp to do anything about it. Hands up, anybody who doesn't want to put their hands up. Hands up, anybody who's ever bought a vacuum cleaner when all they really wanted was a pair of fucking shoes. Have you never thought maybe you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you came here for the wrong reasons? It seemed right at the time, so what went wrong? Did somebody give you the wrong information, or did somebody give you the right information? You got it all wrong. So you got nobody to blame but yourself. Unless, of course, somebody did give you the wrong information at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons. But why would anybody do that? If somebody gave you the wrong information, I'm sure they did it for the right reasons. I mean, have you never told somebody something that you knew was wrong because you thought it was the right thing to do at the time? Does a lie only really become a deception when you realize somebody really did give you the wrong information at the wrong time for the wrong reasons, just to make sure you never would get it right? Or was it all just a misunderstanding? You know, I've always had a tendency to take somebody's word for it. Even if I know what they're telling me isn't true, I figure, hey, they definitely got a word for it. And I've always assumed nobody knows everything. Because I don't know everything. If I do, I'm not even fucking telling myself. So I know nobody's telling me everything. Especially when they tell me, we're not telling you everything. It's on a need-to-know basis. You don't need to know. Trust me, it's in your best interest. Trouble is, I've always been best interested in what somebody's not telling me, especially when they're telling me they're not telling me something that they know. I've got a word for it. It's curiosity. Human nature, one definition of human intelligence is hide and seek. Somebody tells you they're hiding something, you feel like you want to go looking for it. Imaginatively speaking, at least in my case. Besides, you know what curiosity did? There's a lot of cats being killed in the past few thousand years for right or for wrong reasons. Besides, ignorance is bliss. As my mum used to tell me, I think she spent her whole life trying to prove it. Ignorance is bliss, implying you either graduate Yale or remain a blissful ignoramus for the rest of your life. A happy ignoramus for the rest of your life. Of course, at the same time, at school, all the teachers are telling me knowledge is power. Education is key. Knowledge is power. Implying if you don't graduate Yale, you will remain a powerless ignoramus for the rest of your life. There's a lot of words for everything: ignorance, bliss, knowledge, power. Trouble is, you string them all together in the same sentence, they don't always seem to make any fucking sense. Paradox, that might be a word for it, unless, of course, you believe you can be a blissfully powerless ignoramus. Ah, fuck, can we edit this? It's paradox, that's a good word for it. It's the poetry of life. You can always trust poetry because it doesn't have to make any fucking sense. The facts have got nothing to do with it. Besides, the facts is a relative term, usually dependent on whoever's deciding what's relevant. You either believe it or you don't. Choose your own fairy tale. It's a leap of faith, implying you're standing at the edge of a very high cliff, but you say, oh, fuck it, I've had enough, and take one giant leap into the abyss. There'll be somebody down there to catch you. Possibly God, a couple of angels to lift you up to paradise. God's a good word. I guess if we all believed in God, at least we'd all not really know what we were talking about. Let's face it, the truth is the biggest cover-up there is. Why we were born in the first place. Why I was born in the first place. If I knew that, I could definitely start a religion. I was born to save myself from eternal damnation. That is a premise to warm the cockles of your poetically doubting heart. I was dragged out through the birth canal into this world of opportunity to save myself from hell. It could be my last chance, could be my only chance. I'm in limbo, I'm in purgatory, some misstep state of being between the sacred and the profane, heaven and hell. Disney World or the black hole of fucking Calcutta. The misstep implying I must have really fucked up in a previous incarnation. Because I ain't done much in this. I've done a few fucked up things, but nothing I could remotely categorize as evil. So I must have fucked up in a previous incarnation. If you believe in reincarnation, apparently Christians don't believe in reincarnation. Except for Jesus, he came back from the dead miraculously. More of a resurrection. He was wearing the same carnation, but now with a very distinct halo on top of his head, which helicoptered him off. No sooner had he reappeared, he disappeared again, vanished off into the great beyond belief. You either fucking believe it or you don't. But he will be back, the second coming, more powerful and glorious than ever, when he's finally decided who are the angels in waiting and who are the demons doomed to be dumped into the infernal dustbin. Meanwhile, if I just believe in him, not as easy as it sounds. Go to church regularly, even fucking harder. Live a decent life, hey, define your terms. Pay regular penance, beg forgiveness. Maybe I can atone for my sins. The original one of which apparently was done by somebody else. If that stupid bitch hadn't taken a bite out of that fucking apple, I'd still be happily unborn in paradise. If she hadn't suddenly realized she was naked in a public place. And so was this guy. Suddenly she didn't know him from Adam. He's standing there staring at her in a very familiar way. With this wonker dangling between his legs. She'd never noticed that before. How come I don't have a wonker? I seem to have a hole. It's a pole hole. It's magnetic. That wonker is pointing directly at it. Suddenly, I feel so ashamed of myself. I need to find a fig leaf. Quick, I'm starting to cream up between my legs. This wonker's just getting bigger and bigger. What the fuck is going on here? All I did was eat an apple, for Christ's sake. For whose sake? Yes, but you ate it from the tree of knowledge. You graduated Yale. Blissful ignorance is no longer an option. You now have no choice but to get fucked up and deal with this irresistible urge to put that wonker in your eyes. Pudding, it's not natural. Or if it is, I seem to be at the mercy of wildlife. Let's get civilized about this. For a start, I need some better clothing. This fig leaf ain't doing much to keep his wonker down. We need to find a cave, build a house, something, anything to keep our parties private. Too much public wildlife, maybe more than we can handle. As soon as you decide you're not just natural, you can start weaving all kinds of fucking fairy tales. There was a young woman, lived in a shoe, couldn't find a cave. She soon had so many kids she didn't know what the fuck to do. Especially when she realized the cupboard was bare. Food. We need food. I'm eating for more than one now. Why do you go and kill a couple of them wild turkeys out there? They won't know what's hit them. We can gobble on their flesh and I can make a feather duster, because suddenly I'm starting to feel very, very house proud. And while you're out there figuring out how to build a fire, because I'm freezing to death in this flimsy plant life coverall, I think we're entering an ice age, you stupid boy. So Adam wanders off in his fern-fur deciduous wonker wrap. And he comes back with a couple of dead wild pigs, because them turkeys didn't seem like much of a challenge, just stood there staring at him. Yes, can we help you? She's a bit pissed off about the feather duster, but she's so unsuckered by the smoky bacon rise. Meanwhile, she's so busy nesting and devouring BLTs, poor Adam's developed a severe case of blue balls. He has to go and find the nearest friendly donkey's ass to keep his wonka warmed up and activated. But he's starting to feel guilty about this relentless need for wonka activity. It's compromising his work ethic. He's starting to feel inadequate about bringing home enough bacon. One day he just sinks down to his knees in despair and he calls out to whoever's up there to make them pigs easier to fucking catch. Because by now they got wind of what he's up to. Of course, little Evie sees him down on his knees. What the fuck are you doing? Get up on your feet. Go build an outhouse. These kids are shitting all over the place. No sense of propriety. They're driving me up the shoelaces. Am I breeding a race of imps and demons and sinners and unholy fucking defecators? And if you don't get a firmer handle on that wonka, I swear I'm going to chop it off and feed it to the turkeys. That should be worth a few feathers. Did I do something wrong? I'm just a poet. I'm just a fucking poet, for Christ's sake. Prayer is poetry. I'm the original poet. Well, I've got another word for his sunshine. I believe in it ain't fucking poetry. So some men spend a lot of their lives feeling guilty about this relentless need for wonka activity. And some women spend a lot of their lives feeling guilty because the house is only fit for wild pigs and they can't invite anybody over for dinner. And I know I simplify, possibly erring on the misogynistic, but hey, I didn't write this fucking fairy tale. I was gifted it as a child by my Auntie Vera and my Uncle Alan, along with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, and then another one just to confuse the issue. Only this one based on scientific facts. They can prove it. I can't, but they can. Evolution, fuck Genesis. We descended from primordial sludge. But if you study evolution, you're still going to find there's a missing link somewhere. It's like some wonka went astray in somebody or something's rice pudding. Because one minute we're living in caves, rubbing sticks together to put a little spark into our life. Next minute, maybe at the same time, we're building great fucking pyramids in the middle of the desert in perfect symmetry with the stars. How did we do this? How did we know how to do this? Suddenly, some guys are hauling great bricks around 24/7 on pain of death or whiplash, while others are lounging around in their bejeweled finery, dining on pickled aspen, sauteed camel testicles, being palm frond fanned by Nubian slaves, expediently castrated so it doesn't compromise their work ethic, whose brains have been so plugged up with papyrus they couldn't tell their own fairy tale from somebody else's manifest destiny. Royal dynasties are spraying up all over the place. Bloodlines of power, leaders and followers, masters and slaves. Somebody must have eaten a lot of fucking apples. I think they ate the whole tree. Lately, I've been wondering about the Apple logo popping up all over the place. People lining up from the crack of dawn to taste the most up-to-date original sin. And it starts me thinking maybe we didn't descend from primordial sludge. Maybe we burst forth fully reformed from an iPad, digitally downloaded. Maybe somebody designed and developed an app for more conveniently abridged, efficiently pre-programmed childbirth. Maybe it was aliens, maybe God's an alien, the leader of a whole fucking pack of them. Come down to Earth to explore and experiment with possibilities, exploit their resources. Maybe they're trying to turn the whole planet into a giant gas station to refuel their UFOs. Realign the natural cycle into a more linear progression into cyberspace, outer space. Just definitely not this fucking space. Makes as much sense as believing in some guy with a big beard floating around in space decides to take a shit and dumps a whole load of bacterial amoeba down on the planet Earth. Divine composting to cultivate the wilderness and make it not such a waste of space and time. Which is why so many of us seem to have shit for brains. And it's the ones with the least congealed shit for brains who can see clear to Mars. And they know that truly they belong to the universe. And the imagined image of Stevie Jobs is waiting up there patiently for some intelligent intergalactical digital upload. Alien intervention makes as much fucking sense as anything. And it does explain a lot of things like good and evil. There is no good and evil, no absolute good, no absolute evil. Man's inhumanity to man just becomes a meaningless rhetorical phrase as soon as you decide it wasn't men who instigated this shit in the first place, it was fucking aliens. They're not human, they're inhuman. Just doing what comes inhumanly. They're not natural, they're supernatural. You either believe it or you don't. There's no point not believing in the supernatural. You don't need faith to leap into the Grand Canyon and know that eventually you're going to hit rock bottom. You just have to believe that something really, really wonderful is going to happen after the initial bodily splat. Something supernatural, or at worst, a merciful end to all this mental and bodily suffering. Because if you're not suffering, why the fuck are you jumping into the Grand Canyon? It's a leap of faith. You either believe it or you don't. Choose your own faith. So if you're not suffering, why the fuck are you jumping to enter into the mystery? No mystery, no further point in believing anything. But you're born, you live, you die, and you get through it as best you can. Even scientists must eventually embrace the mystery, because every discovery just leads to another fucking mystery. In the end, you're surrounded by your own logic, and the only escape is into the great unknown. And that's the only X factor I can really believe in, because why doesn't seem to equal anything that makes any natural sense at all. I mean, is there any other species in nature that slaughters its own species mercilessly en masse on a regular basis? Is that a question? I mean, you can watch a cat mercilessly toying with a mouse, but is this ingenuity or ingenuousness? It's hard to imagine that pussy has got some secret agenda to keep some mice alive and force them to work in a meow mix factory or clean up all the kitty litter. Does a dove go to war with a hawk to turn the mismatched tables, or accept it's just a fucking losing battle, avoid where possible? It's predator and prey, the chain of life. But is it the chain of command? In which case, who's the commander-in-chief? Barack Obama? George Bush? Who both insist that evil is real, and they seem to know where it's located, somewhere over in modern Mesopotamia, and what it looks like, some skinny, dark-skinned, raggedy-ass bugger with a beard and wearing a fucking turban. If we kill everybody who looks like that, we should be fine. But aren't they supposed to be Christians? Don't they read their fucking Bible? We've all got the mark of Cain. Eczema. Inexplicable, incurable, and sometimes you just have to draw blood to stop the fucking itching. It's the mark of Cain, because Adam and Eve introduced bodily shame and sex into the world, but it was Cain first put murder into our hearts. He bashed his brother Abel's brains in with a big tableau in CinemaScope Silhouette. If you saw the movie, Noah, the movie doesn't really explain why he does this, and neither does the Bible, really. Apparently God just didn't like his birthday present. Wasn't good enough. Cain didn't show sufficient respect. Unlike his brother Abel, who gave God a big strawberry cheesecake with a marzipan angel on top, Cain just gave God a day-old muffin, and God was pissed. So while Abel's standing to one side with his big granddaddy's boy cheesecake-eating smirk on his face, Cain's being hauled onto the carpet and told he's a very, very, very bad boy. So just to prove that God really knows what he's talking about, as soon as nobody's looking, he bashes his brother's brains in with a big ibuprofen. Gives us all a headache we'll never forget. Significantly, it was the same ibuprofen that Moses wrote God's 10 Commandments on. Thou shalt not kill. Asterisk, any more small print, at least not without my permission. Nor covet thy neighbor's ass, nor thy neighbor's husband's ass, because that would be sodomy. It could lead to a painful case of Gomorrah. And then Cain lied about it to God, the first deception, the first cover-up. When God asked Cain, have you seen my favorite grandson, Abel? Cain replied, I've got no idea where the fuck he is, Grandad. Am I my brother's keeper? But God traced the trail of blood, and it led straight to Cain's medicine cabinet. So he cast Cain out of wherever his parents had gone to live after they left Santa Monica. Godless, equally pissed off, and now determined to show his granddad who really ruled the world. He starts murdering people all over the fucking place who don't show sufficient respect. He learned from the best, breeding like a randy rabbit, rapacious rabbit, and practicing eminent domain. He seizes everybody's lands and forces them to live in his cities where he can better ensure they show sufficient respect. Puts them to work in his factories, urban squalor, industrial waste, corporate greed, ruthless ambition. Blame it all on Cain. Or blame it on his granddad, God, who could have just said thank you for the day-old muffin. Hey, it's the thought that counts. In the beginning, I'm going to start again. I might get it right this time. In the beginning, in the beginning, the word was good. Should have been nothing. But at the time, there was nobody around to think it up. By the time there was, it's a bit too late to switch good for nothing. So who spoke the first bad word? Who did the first foul-mouthed stand-up? Plato, Socrates, or Lenny Bruce? Who was the first one to suggest in